Hello, y'all. Welcome to the G.E.M, the Grand Enterprises Movement. Our mission is to motivate, to energize, to uplift, to encourage, and of course, y'all, to inspire 24/7. I am super duper excited, y'all. I have an amazing guest star with us today, Miss LaTonia Monroe Naylor, y'all. I am super duper excited because she is here to share her testimony about how to really be dedicated to your work, but also how to help others so that they can achieve their greatness as well. And I'm super duper excited, LaTonia, for you to be here with us today. So welcome, guest star, to the G.E.M.
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes,
much. I appreciate the invitation. I've been
yes,
waiting for this. I was looking for it the other day and I was like, okay, we're about to do this on Thursday.
yes, yes,
How's it
yes.
going?
It's going well. Listen, tell the people a little bit about yourself. I know that, gave you a short introduction, but tell people what do you do and how you do what you do.
Yeah, so many hats I wear because I feel like that's what we do as women anyways. Black women, we have a knack for doing what is necessary. And so what I did is I took that knack and I transformed that into a business. I wrote a book called Mission Rich and Profit Powered, where I teach folks how to transform their passions into fully funded businesses, not just to chase after the money, but to be able to have harmony and balance in your life, to be able to focus on the things that are most important to you, which are your family, for me, my faith, and in my business. I want to be able to leave a legacy for my children. So how do you do that and not leave, your family behind? That's like my thing that I stand on, the pillars that I stand on. So I would say that really is what encompasses all of the different hats that I wear, is just this passion and this desire to want to make sure that I leave a legacy that is unwavering in my faith.
Absolutely, absolutely. And with that unwavering faith, how do you inspire others in your mission work? I know that, like you said, Mission Rich Consultant, that's the title, y'all. So, what does it mean to be a mission rich consultant? Like, how are you out here in these streets inspiring people? Because, we out here doing the work, girl, and it is
We are.
amazing.
We are. So first and foremost, I think, the mission rich part is the reality that it shouldn't be all about us, right? And from the things that I've been through, the trials that I've been through in life, I've learned that I have to take those things and instead of letting that trauma and those different things lead me or hold me down, I have to transform that passion, right? To be able to use it for other people. And so that's what I do. I walk in the room, I walk in a space with optimism, with enthusiasm. I'm always looking at the glasses half full. And I'm always thinking, how do we take a situation and build from it and grow from it and learn from it? And that idea and that passion that I live with is something that people see as my brand. And they gravitate to that. They want to know, how do I balance my family and my faith and still build a business and still be able to be profitable, because nobody wants to have a business and they're broke. So how do you do all of that at the same time? And that's something that makes people excited.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, building a business while you broke. People don't realize that starting a business actually does take some capital and, finding the right capital to do so. I'm a grant writer, so I help small businesses to get grants and things like that to start their business or to expand their business and diversify their capital.
Mhm.
How do you help people to realize like that startup cost and what it takes to really get their business going financially?
That's a great question. The reason why I wrote my book was for that reason. I've been doing this for over 20 years. My oldest is 20. So, yeah, over 20 years, I've been doing this work of really writing grants, helping people, teaching people how to start businesses. And I did it pro bono for a long time. And it was finally like a few years ago, I'm like, I'm doing too much, giving away my stuff, my talent that God blessed me with. I need to be able to monetize it and give him a return on his investment. He gave me this gift. I need to give him a return on that. And so I decided to start coaching people, consulting with people, and ultimately doing the book, because most people don't have the capital initially to be able to afford coaching. Some of them are just like, look, I could barely scrape together $20 to buy the book, but at least that gives them something as a guide to be able to say, okay, let's start here and then let's teach you how to build it. How do you set it up properly? How do you make sure that you're compliant? How do you make sure that you're not going to owe money or have a tax levy at the end of the year because you didn't do right? You know, those are the things that people don't think about if they make a mistake. And I want to make sure they know how to do it right. And then to your point about the funding, I teach people how to be attractable. How do you attract funding? How do you set up strategy to where people are calling you saying, I want to invest in you? And so I started a nonprofit with a $500 budget, built a
Mhm.
strong team, and we now have almost $750,000 in less than 5 years.
Woo!
Annual budget. You
Let's
know, not
go.
all together, annually, you know, and we're
Annually.
getting ready to do some things, and I can't wait to share what we're about to do, but I can't say anything until after December. But it's one of those things where it's like we wouldn't be able to do this if we weren't attractable. You know, so there's a way to get there to be attractable, and that's what I teach people, what mission rich life is all about: attracting people, attracting resources, attracting dollars.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always tell people, same as what you're mentioning, that they need to leverage their capacity, what they already do, who they already serve, right? And people that they prospect to serve, right? Like who they're
Yes.
looking forward to serving. So what do you feel has been your like greatest success in the last couple months or over the last
Oh,
year?
that's such a great question. And it's funny, when I was thinking about the question, I thought, I'm a success in action. You know,
Ooh,
I,
that's
I
good.
really, I'm a
That's good.
success in action because I feel like if we get to a place where we feel like we've arrived, like I'm successful, then where does the strive continue? Where does the press continue, right? We get to a place where we're comfortable. And I'm like, I don't ever want to be comfortable. I want to always be uncomfortable with knowing the fact that God still has more for me to do, right? And so understanding that and still thinking about, okay, what accomplishments have I made? You know, my book has been big, even though I published it at the end of last year in December. It was something that I've been wanting to do for 7 years, and I finally got it done. I mean, I got into a coaching program with a wonderful lady. Shout out to Jasmine Womack. And she really taught me the framework of how to get my thoughts gathered so that I can get my book out because it was in me. You know, once
Mhm.
I did that, got it out, and then was able to start really building my business at the next level because of my book, that to me was something I guess I would consider a success, right? I
Yeah.
would consider that a success. I would consider the fact that I've been through some very traumatic stuff this last
Yeah.
year, like dealing with racism and all kind of
Wow.
stuff. You know, and the work that I do, and I've been able to embrace the fact that I have a village of supporters around me, in spite of the people that want to be hateful and mean and vindictive, that
Mm.
God still has worked it out for me to be able to grow because of that, right? So I would consider it
Wow.
success. But I definitely feel like at the end of the day, success and failure are such a fine line, right? The
Yeah.
biggest difference between success and failure is the accomplishment. And if
Yes.
you don't achieve the accomplishment, most would say that's a failure, but I don't think that's a failure. I think that is an opportunity to learn to grow, right?
Yeah.
And if we don't grow from that, that's the fail, you
Hmm.
know? And so anytime that I go through something and I'm growing, that is success. Like I said, success in action.
I love that. I absolutely love that. And let's talk about it. So I know that what, like you said, what success comes failure. So what has been, I guess, maybe like a your biggest failure, and how did you overcome that?
My biggest failure is probably, and I have a few that I could probably name, but I would say the biggest one for me has been when I allowed too many people into my ear, into my space, and I started to want to please people more than please God. I've always been a woman of faith for as long as I can remember. And I had a traumatic incident happen to me when I was a teenager, which really drew my attention to God even more. But I got to a place where it was religious, you know, and I was just trying to do what people told me to do or how people expected me to act or respond to things. And I was giving of myself so much that I was sacrificing my family, my marriage, my children, myself, my health. And one day I was in my car, and I was going to work, and I was sitting in my car and I couldn't get out the car. I started shaking. I just started crying and shaking. I couldn't understand it. And I'm just sitting in the car just shaking. And I'm trying to text my boss because back then, it was like 10 years ago, we didn't have the cell phones like we have now where you could just tell Siri what to do. It was just like, you gonna have to figure out how to type this with all the numbers and push it 3 times. And I had to do that and tell my boss like I can't come in because there was no way I was gonna make it into the office that day. I would have just had a meltdown. So I somehow got in my car, drove back, and I didn't know where I was going, but I ended up at the church. And when I ended up at the church, I got into the church. I had a key at the time, and I went to the altar and I just fell on the ground and I started crying. When I tell you I cried for hours, I kid you not. I got there at about 8:30. I got done crying around 12:30. So it was hours that I was crying and crying. I just was so heavy. And after I heard this voice in my head say, if you don't take care of your children, who's going to take care of them? And it literally gave me strength and peace at the same time. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm taking care of everybody except for, like, and it was that moment. And I took a sabbatical that year. I withdrew from everything that I was doing, everything I was committed to except for work and my family. And I took a sabbatical. I went back to my grandmother's church and I did nothing but rest and hear the word and pray. That's it. And when I finally recuperated from that, I won't let myself ever get there again. You know what I mean? So that's where that mission rich and profit powered is so important because you can't let your desire to do something be so strong that you kill yourself in the process and you sacrifice
Yeah,
the things that's important to you. So that is my biggest failure. But I learned from it, which is why I don't feel like it was a real fail
that's
because
right.
I learned I'm not going back there. I'm
That's
never
right.
going to do that again.
Amen to that. And shout out to you for being a woman of faith. I am as well. And I do trust God in all things. And I know the power of prayer. I know the power of a cleanse, a spiritual cleanse, and just letting things go and laying them at the altar, especially when it gets heavy. So I
Hmm.
definitely understand that and can definitely relate to that. What do you feel is one of the biggest compliments that you've ever gotten so far?
That is so crazy that you asked me that. The other day, my daughter was talking about me to somebody. My oldest daughter. I have 4 children. Shout out to my children because they probably tuned in watching me right now. Naomi, Patience, Mike, D, and Melody, and my husband, my D Senior, because gotta shout him out too.
Yes.
Um, but I remember sitting there listening to her talk about me, and I felt like, wow. She was talking about me, and she said, my mother is a boss. She said, my mother is a boss. She said she's a woman of God and she's successful. She knows her stuff in business, and she said, I'm a witness. She never sacrificed her children for it.
Hmm.
And I was like, wow, that like touched my heart because you can say it out your mouth, but when your kids speak it for you or somebody else speaks it for you, it's another thing. And I've always been intentional. I've turned down jobs making a lot of money because I'm like, no, y'all gonna have me working 70, 80 hours a week. I gotta be available for my family. And when you have 4 children, you can't afford to be sacrificing them. I just don't. People think about the money and I think about the pain and the
Yeah.
value that I'm getting out of my kids from me being present and my husband being present in their lives is so much better than having an extra $100,000 a year or whatever I would have probably got if I would have took those jobs.
Yeah, yeah. Sacrifice sometimes is not worth it, because you can't get back time. You can't get
Mm-mm.
back time.
You
So
want to
yeah,
know something
that's
that is so funny? You say that. I was at an event the other day, and this guy said it was a wedding, and he said, "Time is the only currency that we never have a balance for." And I
mm,
thought, wow, that is
I like
so
that.
powerful, right?
He dropping
Because at the
gems.
end of the day, we don't know the balance. So he's like, so you better take every account for every time that you have. Don't waste it because you never know how much you have. And so I
Hmm.
would say yes to what you're saying. Absolutely. You cannot sacrifice time.
Yeah. And as we look back over time, if you had to go backwards to your 18-year-old self, we going back, y'all.
Whew.
To your 18-year-old self, what kind of advice would you give to her and why?
I would tell myself, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Just stick with God, stick with Jesus. You are going to be fine. Because I was a worry wart. I mean, I was worried about everything. Like I said, I had a traumatic life. I grew up in a rough neighborhood. There was a lot of death at a very young age, a lot of people that I loved that I lost very young, whether it was to death or gang violence or drugs, or jail. It was just like a lot of loss. And so I had a lot of worry, and I didn't necessarily know if my dreams would be accomplished. And I had people that looked out for me, but I still had this in me, like, am I gonna make it? Am I gonna survive?
Wow.
Am I gonna make it to 25? Am I gonna be successful? But if I was just new at 18, just slow your roll, focus, you'll be okay. That's what I would tell myself.
I love that. I love that. It's funny, like, if us looking back right now, there's a lot of things that we would change or do differently because we know better. And they say to know better is to do better. I mean, it's such a blessing to hear you speak from that place of, listen, I know what it means to be an overcomer. And so with that being said, how have you been able to overcome the challenges of life so that now you can inspire others?
There's a spiritual aspect of it, and then there's the natural, right? My spiritual aspect is my faith completely, like prayer, fasting, worship. Like, I know how to get in the mode to make sure my mind is on Jesus because I know I wouldn't be where I am if he hadn't held my mind, and given me that peace that surpasses all understanding. On the natural side of it, though, is setting up systems, being very intentional. At every phase of my life, I set up and employ better systems. So I feel like you can't get to the next place if you keep doing the same thing at the same level. But if you are able to elevate in your systems, then now you can do it, but now do it better. I'm always looking for how do I do it better, right? And so, for example, I started doing this 5 a.m. challenge. Now, I've been wanting to get up at 5 a.m. for years, and I would look at that clock and I would go right back to sleep. I'm like, I am not. But I had all of these competing priorities and competing things, and people in my ear that know more than me saying, you got to rest, you got to figure out how to do this, and you got to figure out how to, get your stuff together. And I'm like, I got so many things going on and I can't drop anything. So how am I going to manage? And so finally I prayed about it, and I saw this article talking about the 5 a.m. challenge, and I started reading it, and I'm like, this is very spiritual. Like, okay, I can employ this. I can do some discipline and teaching my children about discipline and stuff. Let me show them how I can do it, right? Because I want them
Yeah.
to do it. Let me show them how I can do it. And then I did. I set up a schedule. I'm going to bed at this time. I'm getting up at this time, and literally started planning in my exercises, like everything I needed to make sure I felt good and I could still accomplish what I need to accomplish. Now, what that looked like a year ago is not what it looks like this year, but the place that I'm planning on going in the next 12 months, I need that level of clarity, concentration, and strategy. And I'm not going to get it if my brain is foggy because I'm doing too much and I'm pulled in too many ways and I don't have a plan. So I would say that just constantly reassessing who I am, reassessing where I'm at, reassessing what my commitments are and why I commit to them. Are there things I'm committed to that I shouldn't be? Did I overextend my welcome with certain boards that I'm on or certain people that I'm around or people in my space or things, because sometimes things are for a season. It's not meant for you to do it forever.
Yeah,
and so you have to reassess, why am I doing this? It has no purpose for me anymore. I need to do something else and let somebody else do that. I'm not a believer of hoarding space. Some people get in the space, they want all the power and control. I don't want that. I want to come in it and learn it, grow, add to it, and then teach somebody else how to do it. Now I can move on to the next thing and know that this is going to be okay. And so those are areas of my life where I would say I strategize intentionally to be able to continue to elevate. I hope that answered your question.
No, that's great. That is good. Listen, y'all, she over here dropping gems. Miss LaTonia, Monroe, Naylor, y'all, here at the gym. So y'all better, catch on, or I don't know what to tell you, catch this on the playback.
Hopefully they'll catch it next year or 10 years from now. Catch it today.
Right. Give me catch it today.
I wish I would have caught the 5 a.m. challenge 2 years ago when it was on my heart. But I'm like, I ain't doing it.
I know. Listen,
I'm tired.
There's a season and a place for everything, a time and a place for everything, as the word
Absolutely.
God says. So yeah, we know that. Listen, it's that season now, so you in there.
Well, you know what you do? You look at, right, where you want to be and what do successful people do? What do wealthy people
Mm-hmm.
do? What do people who have a lot of clarity? There was this lady on a panel one time and she said, I work 6 days a month.
6 days
I
a
said,
month. Oh,
I
I'm
said, you
trying to
work
be
six
like you
days
when
a
I
month?
grow up.
Like what you doing? 6 days a month. I need to figure out what you doing, right? And she didn't come from money. It wasn't like she was a daddy's girl who had all this wealth. No, she built her own stuff.
Yeah.
But she got the systems in place where she is able to work 6 days a month.
Mm.
I'm like, I may not ever work only 6 days a month because I just don't think I can do that. But the
Yeah.
reality that somebody can do that, she's not chasing after being a billionaire. She's chasing after
Mm.
life and comfort and how she can spend time with her family. So
Right.
that's those are the things I think about. What are my goals and how am I going to get there? And who is employing these different techniques and strategies so I can glean and add
Yeah.
to my life. Not everything they're doing, but the elements that I know can be applicable to me.
Yeah. And speaking of that, you're the second person, maybe the third person that came on in this season. This second season has taken off. I mean, people who coming on here, y'all are dropping some serious gems. But you're about probably the third person this season that talked about putting systems in place. And
Yes.
so what does that look like for you? And then can you share with people watching, like, what can they do to kind of strategize and add some systems into their business to, I'm saying their billions, okay, into
Hey, they
their
can get there.
businesses.
You just thought there's a
Right,
new billionaire every day.
right, right. But that they can put those systems in place that will help to build their business.
Absolutely. So one of the things I talk about in my book is the ABCD framework. And the ABCD framework is, look, I'm about to open it up real quick because I want to make sure because I start
Yeah,
twisting.
show us.
I get excited. Next thing you know, I'm talking about stuff. And y'all like, what is she talking about? That's not in her book. She talked about it on a stage, but that's not the one that's in her book. So A is activatable passion. And activatable passion is where you are able to tap into the thing that really drives you and really keeps you going. Some people will call it a why, but I don't believe in just a why because you can have multiple why. It's the
Right.
strong why. The strong why is the thing, like for me, it was my kids. Like I have to make sure I'm better for them. I have to make sure I have a plan for them. I have to make sure we have a certain neighborhood that we live in for them because I'm thinking about I don't want my son getting caught up in the gang and all that kind of stuff, right? So I already had a plan for okay, here are some things that I know I need to have done because this is important to me for the people that matter to me, right? And so activatable passion. B is banking your time or bankable time.
Mm.
Bankable time is making sure you can bring value to people. I do not appreciate people getting into business and they're using AI for everything because they really don't know what they're talking about. And they're just using AI tools. And it's like, that's nice and that's fluffy, but I got a real problem and you can't solve it because you really don't know what you're talking about. You really don't have value. So I can't even sit down and learn something from you. So making sure that people have bankable time, something that really is going to allow people to feel there's a value for what it is that they're going to receive and that you value it too. Because
Right.
what we also do is we know there's a value and we give it away. No,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not giving away. I'm not giving you my
There's a
nuggets for
cost to
free.
it.
There's a cost. It was a cost for me to get it. There's going to be a cost for you to get it. And
Yeah.
that don't mean it have to be a big cost. It doesn't mean that you have to charge $1,000 an hour. But what it means is you have to give an exchange because people need to know that there's a value for what you do. I
Right.
used to charge $25 an hour when I first started. And
Wow.
somebody had the nerve to tell me that was too much. And you know what? You go on and you and they don't have a business now because they said it was
See?
$25 was too much.
See?
But I'm like, if you're not willing to value what I'm bringing to the table, I'm going to go to somebody that will value what I bring to the table. And
And
I
I'm
charge a
not for
lot more.
everybody.
Exactly. And I said this individual would go and spend $250 on a weave, go get their nails done, spend 150, but $25 to learn some information that's going to help you in your business is too much.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you got to go. So,
Right.
needless to
Yep.
say, they were not remaining in my prospective clientele circle.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did is I started to identify people who really understood and value because I valued myself. And now I make a lot more than that when I charge people. My
Mm-hmm.
first my first real client paid me the whole salary of what I made at my job when I left my job full time.
Yep.
So I know there's a value of what I bring to the table, but if I would have stayed there with that $25 person who didn't see a value, I would still not be banking on my time. So I want people to understand that's a system that's very important. You have to charge for your services. Do not give away what you earned because
That's
you
right.
worked hard for it. And also, C is the capacity to balance work and life. You got to have the capacity, which means that you have to be intentional about getting your rest, your self-care. You have to be intentional about taking care of this.
Right.
Because if you don't have this working effectively, your brain is not working effectively. Let's be real. If it's foggy and it's tired and it's exhausted, you're not going to maximize creativity or strategy because you can't process physically.
Yeah.
You really can't. So you have to take care of yourself. Everybody's self-care looks different.
Right.
Everybody's doesn't look like going to the spa. Some people go on a hike, some people take a vacation, some people watch TV, some people just chill out with their family and have regular scheduled family meetings and things like that. You have to identify what's important to you and bring you joy so that you understand how that balance is going to be important and how is it going to impact you, because it's not just about impacting other people, it's about how is it going to affect you as well. But you want to have that balance. Don't sacrifice the things that's important to you because you can't get it back. And then the last part of that framework is delivering with excellence and empathy.
Mm.
Two E's: delivering with excellence and empathy. People will get very upset at people for not supporting their business, but then you go in there and you're like, it's not clean, it's disorganized, it's dysfunctional. They want to charge you 14 times more than what you could pay somewhere else. And I know it costs more as a business owner, but sometimes the reason why it costs more is because we're not doing our job to make sure that we are putting the best systems in place. We're
Yeah.
not using AI, we're not using tools. And I'm not saying use AI to do everything, but what I'm
Right.
saying
No.
is it can help to streamline some of the things that we have to do on a daily basis. It
Right.
can save you 4 and 5 hours if you know how to use the tools properly. So
Mm.
people want to invest in things. They want to be cheap. Oh, I don't want to pay for that. Well, if you paid $5,000 for that, it can make you 50,000. Right? So you got to be able to sit down and look at how am I going to deliver with excellence, right? Because excellence is elevating what I do, doing it at a top tier where you're at. You're not trying to be like the millionaire because you don't have their money, but you can still do it with excellence with a $5,000 budget.
That's
So
right.
it's all about your perception of how do you want people to see you and care. Are your
Yeah.
things are your materials grammatically correct? That's a simple thing.
I always tell people that. I'm like, please don't have grammar
That's a
errors.
simple thing. When I see something spelled wrong, I'm like, this is spam.
Right.
Keep it going. I
Mm-hmm.
was so upset when I was reading through my book the other day and I saw two errors. I was like, oh, the editors missed.
Right.
And I'm stressed because I'm talking about delivering excellence. And here I had two words spelled, the typo or whatever. So you got to deliver with excellence and empathy and deliver where you're at. Empathy is the last part of it because if we don't have the human side of it and care about
Yeah.
people, what are we doing this for? If we
Mm-hmm.
don't care how it impacts people, we don't care that people are uncomfortable, unhappy, miserable when we come around because we don't treat them right or we talk about them behind their back and engage in all this unseemly behavior, then why would we expect our business to grow?
Mm-hmm.
It's not. And this is the thing. The world is very small. The very person that you did wrong is probably so-and-so's cousin that you're trying to go get money from. And
Yep.
they won't give you money because you talk trash about their cousin. That's
Yeah. The world is small. I'm telling you, when
So it
you
don't
run into
matter.
opposite. Yep.
Exactly. You could be in Asia and mess around with somebody's cousin. Don't even realize you done messed up somebody's cousin.
Exactly.
So I just feel like if we live through that framework and employ the techniques that's best for us, according to our situation and where we're at, my life is very different than a mom that has 3 little kids. Right? When I was a mom and I had 4 kids under 5, it was a very different life than it is now when they're all teenagers and grown.
Mm-hmm.
So we really have to make sure that we look at these systems and revisit them all of the time. Don't just put a system in place and just put it on autopilot and keep it going. No, you got to revisit it
Yeah.
3 months, 6 months, a year, whatever works for your family. But it's not supposed to be on autopilot unless you want your business to be stagnant.
Right. And I always tell people that you got to put in the work. Like, I mean, it's millionaires are not made overnight. Like it takes processes and systems being in place. It takes time. It takes energy. Like you got to put in the work to really have your business like, you know, doing what it needs to do. And you got to be consistent. You know, you got to keep on doing it. Keep on, even when you don't feel like it. I'll be tired, girl. I'll be like, not today. But I be pressing. Like you said, I get up early. I stay up sometimes a little bit later because I be pressing. I'm like, nah, I'm going to get to this. And it's not to really, it's not just to the bag because the bag is going to come no matter what. But I feel like as long as you put in the work, like your business will be successful. People will start to follow, you know, your word or, you know, your podcast or whatever, your radio show, whatever it is you got going on, you know, your consultant business, whatever. People are going to follow that if you're putting in the work, if you care enough about it. Like you said, if you're dedicated and hard working towards it, people, they're going to start to, they're going to say, oh, she about that business or he about that business. Maybe we should just take a look at that, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And consistency is the key, right? It's like being present, putting in the work over a long period of time now lets people see you're the real deal. You have what it takes. You're still in business. When you look at the statistics and you see that 20% of businesses are not going to, like, only 20% of businesses are going to be around in 5 years.
Right.
Like, so that means 1 in 5 people that start a business are not going to have a business in 5 years. And most of them don't have a business after the first year because they don't have the stickability or consistency. They can't wait for that moment where all of a sudden it starts connecting with people.
Right.
Because there's so many people out there. And I noticed that now that I've been doing this for 3 years, the more that I'm doing it, the more I feel like I'm continuing to move up and people are starting to really respect and see the credibility and the expertise. And most people are not willing to wait for that. Right, yes, you got to grind it out to get there, right? You got to grind it out because you got bills to pay, you got mortgage or whatever the case may be. But if you put in the right strategies and you're like, hey, I got to make $30,000 this quarter, how am I going to do it? Let me put in some strategies and make sure I get that done. Okay, I made that 30. Now I want to make 60 next quarter. Like you can do it with the right strategy and it takes work. And trust because you have to delegate to people too because you can't do it by yourself.
Yeah, I think Coach Corey, I think it was Coach Corey that was on here who said to make sure you have a proper team and that don't try, even if you can, don't try to do it all. Like if you could do marketing, that's great. But if that's not your business focus, then let somebody else help you with your marketing while you focus on the aspect of your business that you flow naturally in. Like I do business consulting and grant writing. I'm focused on the business consulting and grant writing. However, yes, I do still do my own marketing, but I'm meeting with Coach Corey because I'm like, Coach Corey, who could do this marketing for me? Let's automate some of this marketing and stuff because that's not my day-to-day business, right? That's not what's bringing in the bread, right? What's bringing in the money is the business consultant and the grant writing. So that's what I want to focus on.
Absolutely.
Like meeting more clients, networking and doing that type of thing versus like sending out emails and flyers and newsletters and all this stuff. I ain't got time.
No, VA is the way. Get you a virtual assistant, help you with that. I love my assistant. She is amazing. She's out of Florida. I got very blessed though because I have somebody that I know who just happened to want to go into the VA work.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, I need you. So she has been a blessing to me, and because of the revenue increase, I'm able to start giving her more and more hours. And you can do it cheaper with people overseas and everything, but I just feel like I gotta trust people. I can't be just giving all my stuff out to people. I don't know you from a can of paint. Oh no,
right, exactly.
You subject to disappear with all my golden nuggets.
Exactly. No,
we ain't doing
I can't
that.
do it.
So
I can't do it. And I know a lot of people use overseas and no shade or anything towards them, but I'm just like, I can't. That's why I be over here struggling by myself.
But you know what? My prayer
I do have
an
assistant. I got a part-time assistant who helps me, but they're balancing, like they're about to start they're about to launch a skincare line. So so they're starting a skincare and beauty line. And so they don't have as much time, but they do help me. And I said, eventually I might bring you on full time. We'll have to see. But
yes. Well, my puppy want to join in on the podcast. I'm sorry.
Hey, puppy. So listen, tell me.
Nala.
Hi, Nala. Listen, tell me about the three most influential people in your life and, why they are influential to you.
Wow, so that is a very easy question for me. Um, Listen, I gotta tell these people come get Nala because she get very antsy. She start taking over the whole call. All right, so the three people most important to me, and most influential. It's crazy because when I think about it, right, there's some folks that have really impacted me on a personal level, just being there, just being a person I could rely on, a person that I can go to whenever I'm overwhelmed, kind of thing, and kind of help bring me back to earth. Especially when you have four small children, that was just like a very tough period in my life. But the three people that stand out the most for me is my nana. God rest her soul. She passed away in 2017. And my nana she was like my hero. She had such a strong work ethic. And she showed me, I mean, I remember hearing stories about her walking literally 15 miles to go to work, having to spend a night at work because she didn't have a car at that time, stay at work for 3 days because she worked 3 days in a row. And then she would come back home and her sister would babysit her kids for her while she was at work for those 3 days. And that's what she had to do, work those 12-hour shifts like that or whatever and stay there until she got her car and could do whatever. And that's the kind of work ethic that she gave me. Like I have that same kind of drive. That's why sometimes I have to slow it down and pull myself back because I'm like, I'll keep going like a train, but somebody got to hold me back, So that's why I thank God for my strong circle that helped me with that. Mrs. Dora Robinson, we lost her last year, and she was my mentor for a long time since I was a teenager. And she was that person that always had the sound advice at the right moment, whether it was business or my marriage. Her and her husband had a very beautiful marriage, had gone through a lot of trials, and were able to stick it out and love each other like a very precious kind of love. And I always, I'm like, I love that. So teach me how to balance, how to support my husband and do what I do and make sure he feels value. So she was able to be there and support me in so many ways. And when she left last year, it was just like, it left the hole too, because it was like her and my nana were like this balancing act for me. The things I couldn't necessarily go to nana for, I could go to Dora for, and vice versa. So losing them has really, it helps me to keep motivated because I think about what would they have wanted of me. And so I always think about, I want to please them. So every day I get up, I'm like, no, I can't let them down. I gotta get it together, and I know I can do this, and all of that good stuff. And then my last person is John Singleton. He was my counselor in high school. And I got into a fight, because I told you I grew up in the hood. So I got into a fight, and the girl jumped on me and we fought. And let's just say somebody was standing after. But pretty much after I got suspended, we both got suspended for 10 days. And I was trying to go to college because I was like, I want to be, my nana was real big on education. So that really is what drove me about this education. I consider myself like the business educator, because I really love to educate people. And long story short, basically, I was supposed to get suspended, and he was like, "Nah, I'm not putting that on your record because you're not gonna be able to go to college. You got colleges looking at you; they want to give you scholarships. Nobody's giving you a scholarship, and you're over here fighting and get suspended from school." So he didn't put it on my record, and he just
Wow.
just told me like, "You gotta promise me you're never gonna get into trouble again." And I promised him. I said, I'm not gonna do this again." And he died about a year after that. So it was
Wow.
like I had this
Wow.
guilt, like if I
My
mess up,
goodness.
he gonna get me.
Mm.
He's gonna come back and get me. And
Wow.
so these are three people that really just put this level of responsibility on me to continue to move forward and do better.
Yeah, wow. And they all have passed, but they all dropped gems in your life that have lasted and continue to last. And so, speaking of gems, I know we always talk about, oh, people drop these gems. What kind of gems, besides the ones that you've already mentioned, have people dropped in your life that you share with others?
I think the biggest one is being able to live a life without regrets. Right. And so every day waking up and being intentional that I'm going to do whatever I can do to be able to sleep at night and be okay sleeping. So I've always focused on authenticity. I focused on integrity as being really, really valuable to me because I don't want to disappoint my children, but I don't want to look in the mirror and disappoint myself, you know? And so those kind of gems that people gave me, you know, along the way have helped me. One of the other ones that somebody said to me was always speak in sound bites because then nobody can come back with you and tell you said something you didn't say. And oh, by the way, always tell the truth because then you don't have to remember what you said, right? So those are some things that I live by, and I just believe that, you know, if you do these things, good will come back to you. Yeah, bad things are going to happen because life happens, but it gives you this ability to weather the storm. But it also gives you the ability, like I told you, when I experienced that racist situation at the school district, I had over 200 people show up the next day at a press conference. I mean, within not even 24 hours of announcement of saying I was going to have this press conference. And when I say that we're black, white, old, young, you name it, from all walks of life in that room, it was so many people they couldn't even fit in the room. That's because of the integrity that I believe in living, you know, that people felt connected and they were offended by the things that were said about me, you know, and that to me is the most
Wow.
important thing. What can other people say about you? Your haters are going to hate, but I'm going to focus on the harvest, not the haters.
I know that's right. You better come on. She preaching, y'all. Right here at the gym. Right here at the gym. Listen, so speaking of and speaking of preaching, oh my goodness. You know, what other platforms are you on? What platforms do you listen to? Are you listening to other podcasters? I don't know what I'm talking.
Yes.
And if so, who are they? Who are your favorites?
Let me tell you what happened. When I started my 5 a.m. challenge, it gave me so much room to be able to read more. So I'm doing a lot of reading, a lot of audible reading because I'm in my car a lot or, you know, not able to sit down necessarily and read a book all the time. But the podcast, yes, I've been listening to so many podcasts, but the ones that are really sticking out right now are the leadership focused ones, because I just feel like you never know. If you get to a place where you know everything, then you stop living. Like every day, we're supposed to learn something new. And so the Grow Leader has been one that I've come across that's been really blessing my soul and my spirit. Also, because my husband's a pastor, is been able to give me some ideals. Like, honey, we should be trying this out. You should listen to this podcast episode. Another one was Leadership Leaning. That's another Christian-based one. And then a third one is one of my mentors, Jasmine Womack, and she has the Publish and Paid um, podcast. And so those are the three that I've been listening to on rotation lately,
Nice.
just catching up on all the episodes. But there's so many that I've been listening to in the past. But I would say in the last 2 to 3 weeks, those have been the ones I've been so focused on.
Nice, nice, nice. And so with sharing things with your audience, I know you have the website, but how else do you share like your information with your audience?
So I'm on social media. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. My daughter just got me on TikTok, so now I'm on TikTok.
Hey, TikTok.
Little bit of Instagram, you know. So I am definitely on different social media platforms. Still trying to figure out which one I really want to be on because
Yeah.
sometimes trying to be on all is not good. You got to focus on one or two,
Yeah.
and really just do it right real quick. You know, just keep focused. So I would say that's the easiest one. Of course, people can always message me and stuff like that because I do have classes. I do master classes on grant strategy. So I don't like writing grants for people. I do it for some clients, but it you know how it is. It takes up a lot of time and energy. So I prefer to teach people how to do the grants and how to create the strategy because the strategy aspect is the part that most people miss and they just write, and then they don't get funded. And they're like, I don't ever get money. Well, I always get money. So let me tell you what my strategy is. How you get the money. How did I get $400,000 grant in less than 3 months? You know, how did I get a $300,000 grant unrestricted? Because you know the unrestricted is the bomb. That's what you want, you know. And I got that. Somebody called me and said, "We want to give you this money." I'm like, okay. So teaching people how to really position themselves so that they're getting that's what I really want people to be able to do. So on all platforms, teaching people, doing the live streams. Like, I'm trying to be present so people can get a little bit more wisdom.
I know that's right. We gonna have to partner up on the grants and the grant strategy because people really want this information. I think a lot of times people don't want to pay for it, and that's fine. We get it, but we also, and I say I'm not for everybody. Because we running businesses here, but I give away free information too. So I do the same thing. I host classes, and maybe we can partner up. What area are you in?
I'm in Northeast. I'm in Massachusetts.
Okay. So being out in Mass, actually, my father lives in Mass. So when I come
Really?
visit, I'm gonna have to come see you. Yes,
Yes, please
yeah,
do.
yeah.
I'm gonna send you my number, my
Absolutely.
personal number.
Yes. Not the
Yes,
business
I,
line, not the
right.
business line.
Give you my personal number because I think that's great, and I believe
Yeah,
in collaboration.
me too. Me
I
too.
do.
Yep,
I feel like my people is my people, your people is your people. If we
absolutely.
can stop competing so much and actually share the wealth, we would
Yep,
be a really big enterprise of folks
absolutely.
just elevating. And the folks that are the most successful in the world, when you look at them, they're all
Yeah.
connected.
Absolutely. And one of the things that you and I know about getting money is it's all about relationships.
Yes,
So I haven't won not one grant that I didn't have a relationship with someone in that who was reviewing the grants, or I connected with whoever was the the funder or whatever the case may be. It's
absolutely.
all about relationships.
And
So
people don't believe that and they don't
yep.
understand it. And that's why I agree. That's why I said I don't really write grants for people anymore because they're like, oh, I want this and I want that and I want $100,000. I'm like, but you're not doing any work. You don't have any experience. You don't have any proof that you actually like. What
Right.
story am I telling? I'm not making up stuff. I'm not here to lie to folks. So come on, let's sit down and let's talk about a strategy so we can get you recognizable so folks want to give you some money. You know how it is. You know how it is. And I mean, I love it. I think free money is great, but free money ain't free. It's still a cost for everything, and people don't want to pay for stuff, but then that's why they ain't gonna have anything because you gotta invest. If something's worth having, you gotta be willing to invest in it. And that's why I set boundaries and I give people a little
Yeah.
questionnaire. And if you can't get through the questionnaire, you can't fill out the questionnaire, you definitely won't get 15 minutes of my time for free because you didn't
Absolutely.
pay. You won't even do the questionnaire. So I know you're not going to apply anything I'm talking to you.
Exactly.
You're not
Exactly.
ready for that. So
Yeah.
I know we going over our time, but
It's
I really
okay.
feel
It's
like
okay.
it's important to really stress that for folks that being in a
Absolutely.
business is a give and take. Oh, that was something I wanted to talk about. You
Hmm.
didn't ask me that question, but that was something I wanted
Which
to
one?
make around what advice would I give people?
Oh yeah. Definitely.
And one of the thing that I think is really important for people to know is you don't know everything. Just because you started a business and you're good at one thing, you're not good at everything that has to do with business.
That's right.
Number two, you need to humble yourself so somebody can teach you and develop a strong circle of people that will not tell you what you want to hear only, but people who will be honest with you and
Hmm.
critique you and help you to grow and develop. And then the third part is don't take advantage of people
That's
because
right.
that's what people do in business. They want to try to get everything for free. I pay for everything.
Hmm.
Either I pay for it or I barter. I do not expect people to do anything for me for free
That's right.
because at the end of the day, I want people to pay and value my time. So I'm gonna
That's
value
right.
your time. I tell people, how much are you charging me? They're like, oh, don't worry about it. How much do you usually charge people then? Since you
That's
won't
right.
charge me, oh, $100. Okay, here you go,
Heck,
150.
that's right. That's
Because
right.
I want you to know you're valuable, and I believe I'm sowing into good soil, and God's gonna bless me for sowing into you.
You better preach,
But
girl. Come on
but most
now.
people won't do
That's
it.
so
So I'm
true.
like, first of all, you're missing out on your blessing because if you sow into me, God's gonna bless you. But secondly, you're missing it because the way you sow to people, you're gonna reap what you sow. And if
Hmm.
you're taking advantage of people and you don't want to pay people and you want to cheat people and lie and cheat, all of that's gonna come right back on you, and that will be why you will not be in
That's so true.
business in a year.
That's so true. That is so true. So listen, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Oh, I would say for one thing, my passion, my passion to just, I guess I would couple that with my faith and my passion. I don't know. I know that's two things, but I feel like I want people to know God is able to move in our situations. He's able to take people and move in the marketplace with us and help us to see and experience things that we never thought that we could see or experience. You know, the word says if he could do exceedingly and abundantly above all we could ask or think. I want people to see that through my life. And I feel like I've done some of that, but I think that God has a lot more for me to do.
I love that. And I have taken you over your time, but Miss LaTonia,
That's
this
okay.
has been amazing. I'm like, she done came through the gym and said, listen, we going overtime, baby.
I apologize.
I
I
love
like to
it.
keep things to the time
No,
and
do not
everything.
apologize. Listen, you are dropping gems, and I'm glad that people are tuning in because I want them to hear these gems because we're talking about being mission rich, y'all, and
Yes.
got to get the book. So please tell them where they can find the book, what's the name of the book,
Yes.
and then also, your social media outlets.
Absolutely. Mission Rich and Profit Powered, a guide to transforming your passion into a fully funded business. It is available on Amazon. It is also available on my website, missionrichandprofitpowered.com. So easy way to find me. You get a signed copy if you get it from my website. If you get it from Amazon, sorry, you don't get a signed copy. You save on shipping. You don't get a signed copy. And I'm on, like I said, I'm on social media, Monroe Naylor Consulting, and also at the Monroe Naylor. So either one you can find me at on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, LaTonia Monroe Naylor. And so that's where I hang out.
We gonna find you, girl. We gonna be stalking you because listen, we want to know how you become mission rich. And again, like you said, people they got to understand the investment of time and what that means to helping people to be successful in their businesses, and just even if they're not looking to start a business, if they're just looking to go further in their career path or whatever it is,
Absolutely.
they need to tap into a coach, somebody that can really help them, lead them, guide them. If you're another business owner like myself, I'm gonna reach out and be like, listen, so what you have said was, and what I want to know is, and how we can collaborate, how we can work together, because like you said, we are building brands, but we're also helping enterprises. That's what the GEM is, the Grant Enterprises movement. And so we're building enterprises that move forward and helping people to do the same. And so, through my mission work, I connect with like-minded people in the Black Speakers Network. Shout out to them because that's how we connected. And I'm just so grateful. This second season has been amazing with people such as you, amazing guest stars. And I'm just so, so grateful. And I can't wait for us to do more work, not just here on the platform, but so many other things. And I'm excited. So thank you so much for being on the GEM.
I appreciate the invitation, and I'm praying that God just continue to bless you and what you're doing, creating this pathway for people to come like me and be on your platform, because you didn't have to invite us, and we appreciate you for doing that, and you dropping gems too, sis.
Thank you, boo. I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Listen, until next time, thank you. And I make sure I get my signed copy. I'm going to the website to buy my book because I want to sign a copy.
Absolutely. I promise you won't be disappointed. Once you start reading the first chapter, this is what people tell me. This is not what I'm saying. I believe it because I read it like 4 times. But people have told me as soon as they pick it up and start reading it, they can't put it down. And it's a quick read. It's like less than 3 hours. So it's pretty good, but it gives you it's meaty.
Yes.
Well, like that piece of salmon that, it's really rich. It's not a lot, but it's rich.
Once I read it, I got to bring you back on the GEM so we can talk about it.
Yes. And listen, I want to announce here, because I haven't announced it anywhere else, that I'm in the process of writing my next book.
Woo!
So my next book is going to be, I'm sorry, Nala's excited.
Nala said, look, it's been about an hour now. Y'all done had
look, I was quiet. And so, but let me say this and then get off this thing, because Nala is doing too much. But Mission Rich Leadership is going to be my next book. So it's really going to elaborate on the things that we're talking about. So I will be back once you read the book, and I'll be back to talk about my next book.
Thank you. Thank you for blessing us with your presence today here on the GEM. I appreciate you. Well, God bless you and keep rocking with the gem.
Likewise, sis.
All right. All right, bye.